Okay, so today we are going to look at adding fractions. Adding fractions. And specifically, remember we're focusing on fractions that have the same denominator. So as an example, okay, let's say that somebody was eating a peach tart, and I'm just going to draw a nice round, semi-round peach tart, okay? And of this peach tart, let's say George ate 1/3 of it. Yummy for George. And his buddy Harold also ate 1/3 of it. 1/3 goes to George, 1/3 goes to Harold, and yes, there you can see a reference to Captain Underpants here. Okay, so of the peach tart, how much was eaten? Well, if 1/3 was eaten by George, okay, and here we have George's third, and 1/3 was eaten by Harold, and let's assume these are all equal size pieces. I know the drawing's not perfect. We add those together, and together a total of 2/3 of the tart was eaten. And that's an important thing for us to understand, and we talked about this the other day. When we add pieces, the denominator gives the fraction a name. It tells us the total, and that total doesn't change as we add things together. Okay, so 1/3 plus 1/3 is going to give us 2/3, not just adding the numbers straight across. The next thing that I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to create your number line poster. Now I'm going to give you directions to do that, so just kind of pay attention here before you go ahead and get started. The number line poster, materials for that can be found in the back of your student journal. And in the back of your student journal, you'll see a number line poster. It is activity sheet 15, and it's that heavier cardboard stock that you're going to be using. Word of warning, be careful when you tear these out. You might want to fold them on the dotted lines first. Tear them out carefully along the edge, because if you ruin them, we don't have extras. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and tear out 3 pages, activity sheet 15, activity sheet 16, and activity sheet 17. Okay, you're going to tear out those 3 sheets, and that's going to get you started. Step 2 in putting this together is on page 16. You'll see there is a dotted line with scissors at the top, so you are going to cut along this line all the way from the top of the page to the bottom, and you're going to do the same thing on activity sheet 17. Okay, you're not going to cut on the first one, just on 16 and 17. Once you have them cut, then you're simply going to tape them together. You can come to me. I'll try and have some tape dispensers out. Tape it along. See where the 1 is right here. So this is the first page. This is activity sheet 15. And you can see at the top here it goes from 0 to 1. As you continue to go down, we get more and more fractions. So this will help with our understanding of fractions. The next thing, and it's very important, when you're taping these two together, you are going to match, at least as close as possible. Looks like their lines don't line up exactly perfect. Okay, so but we're going to go ahead and try and line these up as best we can. Starting with activity sheet 16, where we go from 0 to 1, 1 to 2. So what we're doing is we're creating a number line, and that number line has the fractional pieces inside of it. So I'm just going to try and line up this dotted line, lay down a couple pieces of tape, maybe a third one at the bottom. Okay, so now I have a number line I can use, and I can use this as we should be familiar with. When using a number line, we just go straight across to add. Okay, so as I go down here, so if I'm adding fifths and I take 3/5, and I add another fifth to it, okay, the answer is 4/5, and that's what we talked about, where that denominator stays the same. We just add the number of pieces, we don't change the whole that we're working with, and we can just continue to go across. And this is going to become important because pretty soon here we're going to be dealing with mixed numbers, or numbers that have a whole and a fractional piece with them. And when you've lined up the first two, we went from 0 to 1. Now we are going to go from 1 to 2. That's the second page that we've already taped. So on this piece here, we are going to add from 2, starting with 2, and it's going to go to 3. We're going to line that up, grab a couple pieces of tape, and tape that together. Once you've got it all taped together, you might want to go ahead and cut off those edges. Okay, I cut off the edge on this side. I cut off the edge on the other side. I didn't want to do that first because it would take away the page numbers, but now that I know I've got it correct, I'll go ahead and cut those other edges off, because that's going to enable me to fold it and store it. Okay, so if I don't cut those final edges off, but just make sure you cut them as close as possible on the line. This one will fold in first. The third page, number line 3, will fold in. The top one then should be able to fit over that, and you can lay that flat in your desk for storage. Okay, so I'm going to read a story problem, and I'm going to show what it might look like to use our number line to solve this. And the problem that I'm going to focus on is within this area right here. It's talking about twelfths, so I've kind of focused in just on that segment of the number line. And here's the problem. Cassie's teacher assigned 12 math problems for homework. She finished 3/12 of the problems at school. She solved 2/12 when she got home. What fraction of the problems has Cassie solved so far? So as we're thinking about adding this together, 3/12 plus 2/12, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, are we referring to the same whole? And yes, we are. We're referring to groups of 12, the same group of 12, so each piece is going to be the same size. Each piece of this particular group is one problem. So if she solved 3 out of the 12 at school, and 2 more, 2 more, when she got home, then we can see that the total that she has solved is 5/12. Another way that we can think about solving this is by using a diagram. This diagram, I've drawn an array. Okay, you could consider this anything you want. You can make it a backyard, a room, you can make it a square or a rectangular pizza, and we've divided it into groups, equal groups. Okay, and since this is 4 by 3, each one of these pieces is going to represent 1/12. 4 by 3 is 12, so each piece is 1/12 of the whole. And so if she has worked 3/12 at school and did 2/12 at home, she's done a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/12 of the problem. And we could even look at this and say she still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/12 yet to go. And to close things up, I want to do one more problem, and that is to do a story problem where Billy ran 3/5 of a mile, 1, 2, 3/5 of a mile on Monday, and 4/5 of a mile on Tuesday. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go 4/5 more, 1, 2. Now when I hit this mark right here, and I know it's off a little bit on the paper, just accept that. Okay, there's 2, but we've got to go past there 2 more. That's 3/5, and that's 4/5. Okay, so what he's done is he's run a total of 7/5 of a mile. And I want to take a look at that answer there for a moment, so hang on. Okay, so I've got that answer, 7/5 of a mile, and what that is that's an improper fraction. When the numerator is larger than the denominator, we call that an improper fraction. To create a proper fraction, okay, or what we would call a mixed number, we simply take the whole part out of that answer. Okay, so we can break this down. 7/5 is 5/5 plus 2/5. Okay, and the reason I chose 5/5 is because 5/5 is 1 whole. So another way of writing 7/5 is to say it is 1 whole and 2/5 more. Okay, so let's take a look at one more example of an improper fraction. Let's go with 13/4. Okay, and that is equal to, and I want to take out equal groups of 4 because I want whole number groups out of here. Okay, so 4 over 4 would be 1 whole. Double that, 4 times 2, that would be 8 over 4 would be 2 wholes. And 12 over 4, okay, 12 over 4 is equal to 3 whole units. 4/4, and so I'll break this down even more underneath here. I'm going to show you that 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 4/4. Okay, there's 1 whole, another whole, another whole. That's equal to 3. 1 plus 1 plus 1. 4/4, 8/4, 12/4. Okay, so let's go back up here. Out of my 13/4, I've taken out 3 whole amounts, and I still have 1/4 left over. 12 plus 1 is 13, so 12/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 13/4. So another way of writing 13/4 is to say that it is 3 whole units with 1/4 remaining.